Good evening. My name is David Grant, and this is a video on how to do the test for the two courses that I'm teaching this semester. I don't know why it seems to be such a hard concept to follow, but apparently it is. So let's go ahead and do a practice run here with the same practice test that I sent my students in Math 0050 and Math 0070. So the first thing you need to do is to go over to into Canvas. So you get into my Macomb and go to get logged in, go to Canvas. You'll have a message from me about the practice test, and start over with clean. I sent one to myself here. So you'll see that it has the message. It has, this is the answer grid that seemed to be so confusing to everybody. 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x in the first row, and then 6x, 7x, 8x, 9x, and 10x in the second row. Now if you had say 18 questions, you'd probably have 3 rows with 6 of 6 columns. So it would be 1 through 6, 7 through 12, 13 through 18, and so on, whatever is a good number for dividing, however many questions are on your test. So the first thing that you'd want to do is go down to one of these two versions of the test. If you're using a Windows-based word processor, you'd probably want to click on the DOCX rather, because that is the format for Windows. If you're someone like me who's on Linux, or perhaps if you're on like an iPhone or something like that that uses Office Libre or some sort of open system, you would click on this and it would say, okay, we're going to open it with your word processor. And yes, we want to do that. You'll notice it's, well, basically it's a read-only document, because basically all I would expect you to do is possibly print this. If you did edit it, you're going to have to save it under a different name and whatnot, but I don't really want you to go to all that work. So at this point you would either print this so that you could have it to work off of, or if you had some scratch paper, you could just write down your answers there. So for instance, now not everybody got all this information. I don't expect anybody to get 100% unless they're very lucky. But of course you would, for number 1, if you're in 0050, you would pick A for your answer. 0070, it would be B. I don't teach these courses. I taught this one back when it was just Math 100, like 20 some odd years ago, but not lately. My name is David Grant, so that the answer to 2 is C. I have 2 college degrees, so the answer for 3 is B. I got my bachelor's degree from Graceland College, so the answer for 4 is also B. 5, I earned my master's degree at Ball State University, so 5 is C. And you just kind of go down here. I did not earn a doctorate, so the correct answer for 6 is D, or none. The full-time career field I pursued was D again, operations research. About 40% of my career with the Army was as a systems type analyst, where I did like computer simulations and things for modeling how to do the best. Because operations research is you've got a situation. What is the most effective way of solving it? Where effectiveness, usually has cost figured in there somewhere, and also just getting the job done. So we oftentimes use computer simulation to test, which of several ways might be the best way of doing something. So you use a lot of math in it, but it's not strictly speaking mathematics. And you really need a lot of good command of English to explain all the math that you're doing to somebody that's not really interested in that. They just want to know what's the decision you should make. Okay, number 8. I did teach for Oakland Community College. I did teach at Illinois State University and at Wilberforce University. But I've never taught at Wright State University down there in Dayton, Ohio. So the answer for number 8 is D. In at least one class, I did mention my daughter's ages. The answer there is A, 36 and 40. And finally, number 10, it was Donald Duck that went to Math Magic Land in the Disney short. So the answer to 10 is D. So, okay, you've gotten those answers now. So let's close this out. You've either printed it or whatever and marked it, or you've written it down on Scratch. So what's the next thing you do? Well, to report your answers, you highlight and copy this grid. So we highlight it and then we do a Control-C to copy. Then you can pick either of these two reply things because you're going to send the test back to me. So let's click reply. Then you click in the area where you're going to do your message, and then you do Control-V to paste. And then you go in and highlight and you change the X's for whatever you think the answers are. So let's pretend I'm a student that's taking Math 0050, so I would change the X here for number 1 to A. And number 2, the answer there was C. For 3, the answer was B. Okay, for 4, the answer was B also. And I went ahead and did the caps lock key. It doesn't matter if you use upper or lowercase, really, so don't worry about that. Apparently this was hard enough without getting into that bunch of weeds. So 5 was C, 6, 7, and 8 were all D, so let's go ahead and get those in. Number 9 was A, and number 10 was also D in this case. Okay, so this is just as I tried stressing, both in class and also, well, it's probably the only place, maybe to some of you that I've dealt with because you've already tried this and we had a nice little dialogue going. It's kind of like filling in a Scantron sheet. Now, some of you have probably only been here while we were doing these things remotely, so you don't even know what the Scantron sheet is. But it's one of those fun little things that has, like, for a number, for the question number, and then a row of usually, I think they go out to E, because they like the none of the above guess, I guess, in a box, and you fill in the box. If you voted in an election, it's like filling in the oval, and then the thing goes through and scans it. This is basically just to make it easy for me to grade your test. If you string them all out, and then I print your response back to me, I'll probably miss everything after number 12, which in this case wouldn't make a difference. But at any rate, this is how you would do it. Okay, you copy and paste that grid that I provide with the message with your test. And remember, you're all going to be getting different tests when you actually are doing the test for the course. In this case, everybody's got the same test, but it's only a practice, so I didn't want to make up, 9 to 12 different versions, or up to 17, or 9 to 16 different versions of trick questions that are trivial and just to give you practice. So once you get all this filled out, then you hit send. And then for some reason or other, when I'm sending messages to myself, it doesn't do a heck of a lot. Yep, there I disappear again. So let's try send items. And there we go. There's my reply with my answers to the test, which I would then print off, so I'll have a copy of it. Then I get you the answer key for your version of the test and figure it out, how many you got right and wrong and whatnot. Then I scale out a score for it, and it goes from there. But this is how you do it, and hopefully that has explained it to where everybody knows how to do this now. And I won't be having to give you a 0 because instead you edited the test that I sent you and sent me back a picture of it or whatever. None of that stuff. Follow the instructions and everything will work out fine. And this is, I would think, of a fairly easy process. Okay, so that is the end of this video then, and hopefully we are all on the same page now as far as taking a test goes. So good luck. Starting next week is when we have all